now as I'm talking. So as I was saying, so time management is one of my favorite things to talk about because not only do I get to share some things that I have learned and in things that are out there in massive studies and things like that, but it's a good reminder for myself too, of everyone goes through this and everyone is dealing. So either by raising your hand, there's a raise hand feature here, I think, or laughing face, whatever. How many of you feel like you are already an expert at time management? Does anyone feel like they're an expert? You're all like, no, Chrissy, that's why we're here, right? All right, good. Because I was like, if you're an expert, then maybe you need to lead this because, as I said, I constantly am learning. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. I do have a presentation that I'm going to show you all. So give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. There we go. So before we get started, when you heard the topic of time management, and you can either unmute or you can write it in the chat, why did you attend today when you were like, oh, it's time management today? Why did you attend? And it could just be I had to, which is totally fine. I totally get that part. But maybe what interested you about this topic? Yeah, go ahead, Diana.
What really interested me was basically, being in nursing school, working full time, and now being able to be elected as president. As first, I thought it was, like it's a big deal, and it's gonna come with a lot of little meetings and little stuff I have to do on the side for the class and everybody. So I feel like I needed this time management class to be able to manage my personal life, my school life, and my social life to just be able to see how I can put all in together and still be successful.
I think that sums up a lot of things right there. I completely agree. Does anyone want to add to what Diana said? All right. Well, if you want to add as we go on, you let me know. All right. So we just did the raise your hand. All right. So if you have a piece of paper or just have something around that you can kind of jot the numbers 1 through 15. All right. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about an average day for yourself. Okay. An average day, or, sometimes I say, think about the busiest day of the week for yourself, right? The days that kind of get you to be like, whoo, this is a lot. And I want you to think about how many hours that you spend a day on these different activities. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to go ahead and work on this. And once you have your number, what I want you to do is I want you to add it all up and put it in the chat for me. All right. So take a couple of minutes, about 5 minutes or so, and add it all up and put that number in the chat.
Hi, hello. Sorry for being late.
Hi, no worries, no worries. Welcome. So what we are doing right now is we are jotting down the numbers 1 through 15 on some piece of paper, whatever you have there. And we are putting down how many hours that we spend doing certain things. So you can see it on the screen. So the first one's in class or doing homework or studying and just thinking about generally, right? Generally, how many hours are you spending doing these different things on like your busiest day? All right. And once you get that number, go
Okay.
ahead and put it in the chat. And also make sure that you put your name and your affiliation in the chat if you are with a student club or organization, or you're just here because you're here and you saw it advertised or whatever it is, so that we can make sure we can stay connected with you. All right, so about 2 more minutes, and let's see if we can get some of these numbers in the chat and what they look like. Thanks for sharing, Alicia. 24. Elijah, 30. Yep. 4, 27. Okay. I will tell you, the first time I did this, my number was over 30. So I think it was 34. Yeah, you could just make an estimate, Liz. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to talk about ways you can take these tips for the future in just a few minutes. But just so you know, in general, 35. Yep, that was around where I was, Demont. Yeah, 25 to 35, 30. Good, good. All right. It's never, I think it's always kind of a surprise when we finally add up all of these things and go, oh, look at that number, right? Good. I see a 32 has come in. Good. And for those of us who, for those of you that just joined, what we are doing right now is we're kind of estimating on our busiest day how many hours that we might spend on these 15 things, and totaling that up to see what that number is. So that is what we are working on, but we're going to be moving along right now to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you haven't done it, take like a screenshot or take a picture of it, because I'm going to be moving on from here. All right. Well, thank you all for
Thank
those of
you.
you who have put the numbers in there. And if you're still totaling up, that's totally fine. Put the number in when you get a chance. Because I think too, when you put that number in there, it makes you accountable for what you just did, right? And so so share it, let's share it together, and let's work together to make some things happen. All right, so let's have oh, thank you, Dan. Dan just put it in the chat for everyone. So let's have a realistic conversation right now. So you just added everything up, right? And we are putting your numbers in here, and we're seeing numbers anywhere from 24 to 35 and, you know, higher. But let's think about reality, right? There are only 24 days, geez Louise, 24 hours in a day, right? So when I added mine up, and like some of you, and I got more than 24, I went, uh-oh. Remember when I told you earlier that I wanted more hours in the day, and how was I supposed to make that happen? And can the world make that happen for me? You're in the same boat as me, right? Like you need the more hours in the day because you just added up more than 24 hours also. But the other part of this is when you do the math, right? There's 168 hours in a week. So if you take your total on your busiest day, and let's say you multiply that by 7 days a week, if you're that busy, then you look at that number, right? That's much more than 168. And there's 703 hours in a month, which means there's 8,760 hours in a year. Crazy math, I know. But what's really important is to think about how the heck do we fit everything that we want to do, love to do, and have to do within a 24-hour span of time and not feel stressed, right? We don't want to feel stressed when we're doing that. So this is actually from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. So they added it all up. Now this is per week, right? Like this is and look what the highest number is that people spend time at the top. It's sleeping. We spend, on average, sleeping is where we should spend the most amount of our time. And then again, your college students, and we know that. So studying comes next, and then eating. Eating's really high also. Taking care of ourselves, and then attending class and working and all of those things too. How many of you are shocked that sleeping is the number one thing that takes up most of our time? Is anyone surprised? No one. I enjoy my sleep. I'm not gonna tell a lie here. I like my sleep. Okay. So how the heck do we get to feel like we are being successful within our days? How are we able to challenge sleeping for 7 to 8 hours a night? Okay. Going to school, going to class, doing our homework, going to work if you're working, socializing with friends, doing things we love to do, taking care of ourselves, eating, all of these things, right? I love this quote. Nobody is too busy. It's just a matter of priorities. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. I want you to take a moment, and I want you to think about these 6 things that are most important to you. And you can, use a box like this if you want to. You can just write them down in the list. Maybe you just think about them. But 6 things. So in your life. So for instance, I'll give you, for instance, for me, 6 things that are important in my life are my family is really important to me. My career is really important to me. My friends are really important to me. And then keep going on. My health, things like that. So I want you to think about the 6 things. And if you can't come up with 6, that's fine. But just 6 things that are most important to you. Okay, write those down. You can use boxes, you can use a list, whatever is going to be easiest for you. few more seconds. You should pretty much be going with your gut. Like it shouldn't be a deep thought, I guess, for you right this moment. You can always take it deeper later on. Okay, so I just told you that I wanted you to pick the 6 things, up to 6 things that are most important in your life. Now I want you to think about how you're spending your day. Okay. And I want you to think about how these 6 things are impactful within your daily life, right? Because really, if those are the 6 things that are most important to you, those are the 6 things that should be taking up the most time in your life. All right. And does that match, right? All right. However, what I want you to do right now is I want you to look at those 6 things and I want you to go, okay, out of these 6 things, this one means the least to me out of these 6. Now I told you they were all important. I'm not taking that away. But when you prioritize and you look at like the most important to the least important of these, which one is the least important? And you can put an X through it, cross it out for a second, whatever you want to do to show the 5 top things that you have. And sometimes people feel like they're that someone's going to see this and they're going to judge them. No one's judging you. No one's going to see this. This is your own personal thing. So now that you have your 5 things that you feel are most important to you in your life, you're going to take it down to 4. Okay? You're going to take it down to 4. And guess what's next? Take it down to 3. And then 2. And lastly, 1. Where you're going to circle and star that top priority of your most important 6. Okay. And then what I want you to do is look back. And I want you to look back at that number that you all just did a little bit ago. And I want you to tell me in the chat, does your number 1 priority match what you are spending the most time doing? It's a yes or no. Okay. Does your number 1 priority match the highest number of things that you're doing every day? Number of hours that you're doing every day? Demont, yes, good. For the most part, okay. A good amount of the time, yes, good. 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 Most of you say it seems like it you are, really able to connect that top priority with where you're spending your most time. That's good. I, on the other hand, was not that person when we did this. When I did this one of the first times, what I was realizing is my priorities were a little shifted, right? And I wasn't able to spend as much time as I wanted to on my top priority. And there are reasons for that, depending upon where we are in life and what is going on in our lives. So I'm going to give everyone just a couple more minutes to put their comments in the chat. And then I'm going to explain why sometimes this happens. All right. So, have you all ever seen this graphic before? So this is you can Google this. The time matrix is what it's called. You can always Google it to understand it a little bit more. But there, on the left-hand side, you're looking at things that would be important and not important, right? So we're going to categorize some things. And at the bottom, we're thinking about things that are urgent and not urgent. So I'm going to take each quadrant and I want to see if you can help me decide what some things might go into. So I want you to think about on the left, the important, and at the bottom, urgent. So what is something in your life that might be important and urgent all at the same time? And you guys can unmute, you can put it in the chat. Just list some things that you think might be important and urgent. I see school, finances, deadlines. Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to give you the I was almost about to give you all the answers. Yes, okay, that's really good. So now let's flip it. And let's think about things that are important, but not urgent. So what is something that could be important to you, but not urgent? Is that one harder? Healthy habits, okay. Sure, being healthy. But it might not mean that you have to do that right this moment. Good, kind of going along with healthy habits is exercise, family, friends. Okay, you guys are getting it. You're getting it. How about urgent but not important? I think this one's tricky, in my opinion. Due dates. Replying to text messages. Money. Okay. Money. And last but not least, what is something that's not important and not urgent? The phone. Social media. Keeping up with trends. I like to say this is the one that where all the fun happens. Right? Good. You all did really good with that. Thank you. And now I will share this with you. So you all were pretty much right on with your ideas. So the important and the urgent is like you have to do it now and you have absolutely no choice but to do it right this moment. Okay, so things like a pipe burst in your house or your apartment, you got to take care of that right then and there, right? If you don't, then you're going to have water everywhere and there's going to be further consequences for that. So you have to think about that. Like it's important, it's urgent. I have to do it right this moment. I have no other choice. Okay. The important, not urgent, those are the things that are important to you, but normally you can schedule those things. Like I got a test coming up and I know I need to study. I have a paper due and I really should do that. I should probably work on the agenda for my club meeting that's next week. I need a flyer done for the event that's coming up. Those types of things, right? But you could put that on your to-do list and you can make that important to you, but it's not like you have to do it right that moment. Then the urgent but not important, a lot of times, those are things that like someone else might be able to do for you. Okay. So you can delegate it, or maybe you can actually say no. I don't know about you all, but that word no is really hard for me to say sometimes. Okay. Because I'm a people pleaser by nature. I like to say, sure, I can do that. No problem. And then I think, how the heck am I going to do that? Like, why did I just say I would do that? That does not fit into my day at all, right? So how can you delegate it and make it happen later? And then the non-important, non-urgent, these are everything. Wow, that says almost the same exact thing. These are everything we love to do, right? So hanging out with friends, it's a necessary component in our lives because we need that in our lives and our family and things like that. But that's not always the most urgent or most important thing that's happening right then and there. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? Okay. So the reason that I circled quadrant 2 is because this is actually, according to all of the people that are out there in the world, this is where you want to spend the majority of your time. You want to spend the majority of your time working on things that are important to you, but not in an urgency. So you want to be able to plan, use a calendar, prepare for things so that it doesn't feel like an urgent thing. Now, I'm sharing a lot about myself today because I can do that. But when I was in college, I was a procrastinator. It was who I am by nature. I tend to also be a little bit of a procrastinator when it comes to some projects and things like that, even in my life now. I would always say I work best under pressure. Okay, that was my thing. So for me, I was always working in quadrant 1 because the deadline would be tomorrow and I would pull an all-nighter or things would happen that I needed to be right then and there. And I also was trying to do too much in my life where I spent my entire life in quadrant 1 and it totally burnt me out, right? So if someone would have said to me, Chrissy, it's okay to say no, and if you plan, you're going to be okay, that would have probably made a pretty big difference to me. Okay. Then the not important but urgent, I love this too. Like the phone rings. How many, you don't always have to answer the phone. It's okay to send a message, hey, I'm busy right now, or can I call you back in 10 minutes when you get something done? But these things here, these cell phones that we have, make our lives so that we are constantly in communication with people. It's okay to power down the cell phone every now and then, friends. It's okay to silence it. It's okay to put it on do not disturb and take time for yourself. And then, as I said, the fourth quadrant is all the things we enjoy. We should still do them, but not spend all of our time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is only 2 minutes long. It is not long at all, but I just need to make sure I'm sharing audio with you all, because that could end badly. Oh, let me just reshare a couple of things. Okay.
People who are successful both at work and at home manage their time well. One of the first steps towards successful time management is to identify how you spend your time. Try keeping a log of how you spend your day. Write down how much time you spend doing things like working, watching television, or running errands. Once you have a record of how you spend a typical day, follow these steps to learn to manage your time more effectively. First, make a list of your tasks. Then, estimate how much time you spend on each task. Eliminate unnecessary tasks from your list. In some cases, you may be able to delegate tasks to other people. Prioritize your tasks by numbering them in order of importance. If you have difficulty establishing what's most important, ask yourself what on the list is absolutely necessary to fulfill your needs. Small changes to your daily routine can also help free up more of your time. Getting up just an hour earlier can make a big difference in how your day is structured. You have more time for life's unplanned emergencies, such as car trouble, childcare issues, sickness, or miscellaneous errands. TVs, computers, and mobile devices can be a distraction when they're not being used for anything productive. Consider limiting how much time you spend using them. Keep a calendar of important professional and personal appointments and events.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Whether it's a desk planner or a smartphone app, choose the type that will be easiest for you to maintain on a regular basis. Practicing effective time management will allow you to spend more time on the things that matter to you most, whether it's a hobby, time with family and friends, or even just some more time for yourself.
All right. So by either using the chat or unmuting, how many of you actually use a planner? And it could be a digital planner. Jasmine, I love that. It's an on and off again relationship with a planner. So when I remember to, okay, so I'm seeing some of that. So make a weekly schedule online. All right, so can you all tell me this whole like on again, off again thing? What makes you always come back? When you set some new goals? Mhm. When things get a little overwhelming, you all of a sudden go, whew, I need something to help me right now. Realizing it actually works. Yeah, to keep you on track. Yeah. I sometimes get tired of my calendar or my planner and I need to change it. And I find that like 6 months is probably my limit. Like I need to change it and switch it up and try a different calendar or try something different or make it look a little different. Um, that's me personally. Um, but my calendar, it's like it has to be with me. Like my planner has to be with me at all times. Because I write everything down in it. And then I'm like, oh crap, if I don't have it and I forget to do something, then I'm like, oh, wrote that down and forgot to even open up my planner for the day. Right. So I encourage you all to think about that. And if you already don't have a method or you don't have a planner, student engagement has planners available. You can stop by our office and grab a planner, or you can find an electronic one that works for you. I will tell you, I am not really good with the electronic planner. I rather write it down. So someone once told me that you should make to-do list, to-da list. And the reason is that when you cross something off, you go ta-da, and you can have a celebration. And I love that concept, right? You should celebrate when you finish something on your to-do list. But at the same time, whatever method you want to use and whatever method works best for you is what you need to do. And maybe you try one and it doesn't work, then try the other one. I don't know if anyone on here does an electronic kind of planner. And if you do, if you have any recommendations for other folks, if you use some type of electronic planner of some sort. I mean, I have a calendar, but I'm saying beyond that, right? Like a to-do list or something. Notability. Sheena, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, so Notability, it's an app. I have an iPad, so I think it works on other devices. But the good thing about Notability is that they have like templates, and they have like templated planners in that app too.
That's awesome. And it's easy to use.
Yes, it's very easy to use.
Good. Good. Does anyone else use one that they would recommend? Okay.
Well, I just use Excel, so more so in an academic perspective, like aside of other things, but I do like an Excel sheet, and I just write down or type in all of my assignments and then like how many points, which days they're due, and then I'll print that out, and then on the back is where I'll do extracurricular things. So yeah.
Nice. I think right now, while you can't see Dan, I'm pretty sure his heart is like jumping out of his chest. He loves Excel. He's like, he loves Excel more than anyone else I know. So the fact that you use Excel for planning is probably making his heart happy. And there it is. I love Excel, as I told you. So Jasmine, you said there's Google Keep. Can you tell us about that?
Google Keep is more like a checklist type deal. But how I saw in the video, because I was also looking up on methods of like using online planners, you could use Google Keep and Google Calendars and just work with both of those. It hasn't worked out for me personally, but I think it could help someone out.
Thank you for the suggestion. Yes, that's what we're here for, to share. I want to learn from you all as much as you all are here to learn from me or the presenter that's doing today. So thank you for sharing all of that. All right, I really am trying to get to the next slide and all it's doing is fun. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we've already talked a little bit about all of this, but just to kind of go over it again, create a daily plan. Know what your day is going to have. I don't know about you all, but the first thing, actually, I do it the evening before. What I do the night before is I look at my calendar to see what the day has in store for me for the next day. So I am aware of that. That's also because I'm not a morning person. And so for me, trying to like focus in the morning doesn't do me any good. I need to know what's coming the night before so I'm prepared for it. It's okay to put a time limit on things. It's okay to schedule yourself to study. It's okay to schedule yourself when you want to eat. It's okay to say, I'm taking a break right now and I'm not going to do anything else except for this within there. Use a calendar, use an organizer, whatever you know. Know your deadlines. I cannot express this enough, especially to you all as students. Your syllabus needs to be like that thing that you just have with you at all times, right? Put those dates in there on day one that you know when something is due. Now, I know there's normally flexibility and sometimes professors will come back and go, okay, let's scrap that, or let's take an extra week for that, or they might even push it up a little bit more. But put those deadlines in your calendar so you could start to see if things start to overlap in any way and then go, whew, this week might be a little rough for me. I have 3 projects due, right? And you can see that from right there. Learn to say no. Again, I was talking about that earlier. One of the hardest things for me when someone asks me to do something. Set reminders. Okay, so I use my phone all the time for reminders. And I'll say, okay, remind myself to do this at this time, or set an alarm to say, you know what, you need to start doing this, and then set an alarm for when you're finished it and go, okay, I can take a break, right? Because sometimes we can get consumed with things at the same time, and then our time is gone. Have a clock visible, okay, so that you know what time it is. Be able to focus, be able to block out distractions too. If you all are ever on the Essex campus and you come in, if I'm working on a project, I tend to have my earphones in and music playing in the background, because if not, I'm like, oh, what's going on out there? Or how can I be involved in that conversation? Or what's going on, right? So if I know I have a deadline or a project to do, it's okay to block out those distractions, however you need to do that. Track your time that you're spending. Don't fuss about the unimportant details, right? Learn to prioritize and delegate, and batch your similar things together. You know, if you know that you need to run an errand and you also need to go and visit this person and do grocery shopping, how can you make all of that happen while you're in the car at the same time, right? Or using your mode of transportation. Eliminate time wasters and then leave buffer time in between, just to make sure that you're not always rushing to things, right? All right, so just to kind of sum up a little bit about what we talked about today is you need to remember your priorities in your life, and you need to make sure that you're putting those priorities at a top level and that you're spending the majority of your day focusing on those top priorities that you have. It's okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to take time to enjoy something, to do something that you love, because we should all do that. But really, it's all about your priorities. It's all about using a way and a method to keep yourself organized. And if you can do all of that, you're going to make it. It's going to be okay. It's also okay to go, you know what, this method doesn't work for me, and tracking kind of how I do and trying a different method. I'll be honest with you all, I'm in my mid 40s and I still to this day will change how I do things because maybe it just doesn't work for where I am in my life now. Okay. And that's okay. So does anyone have any questions or comments before we wrap up our time here? I'm gonna stop sharing if I can see you all. Oh my gosh, Sheena, I love that question. So Sheena's question, if you can't see it, is any tips on organizing your day based off of energy? Yes. So we joke a lot in our office about each individual person and when they tend to have the most focus or the most energy, right? So I was using myself as an example. I just told you all I'm not a morning person. It just, for some reason, I've never been a morning person. If you schedule a meeting with me before 10, we'll see what we get out of it. I try my hardest, okay? But if you get me at like 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm cruising. I am ready to go. 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So I think with those types of things, that's when you have to look and go, all right, if you're not a morning person like me, I'm just going to use myself as an example. I should probably not take an 8 a.m. class, right? Because that is not going to work for me. Number one, I probably will be late to every single class. Number two, I'm not going to be functioning enough to actually absorb what is going on in the class. So I'm not going to be productive and I'm not going to get done what I need to do. And I have that choice of when you can schedule your classes normally. So I say that a lot. I was better off taking those evening courses that were there because I was more focused and I was more able to get out of them what I needed to do. The other thing too is then I don't schedule myself to do a big project when I know that my energy level is going to be down. So again, at 9 a.m., I'm not going to schedule myself to go in and do a big project or a big presentation or something like that. Now, let me also say sometimes we don't have choices, right? But when I do have a choice, that is not going to be my choice because it doesn't match my energy level for that day. And then some days you just don't have the energy. And some days it's okay to go, you know what? I just don't have it today. And I need to postpone something, or maybe you just need to reschedule something, or if it's a daily thing. But I think when you set yourself up for success, it's okay to be honest and say, you know what, that 8 a.m. or that 7 p.m. class isn't going to work for me. If you were to go to my supervisor, she would tell you that if she took a 7 p.m. class, that she would not be successful, but the 8 a.m. she would be successful at. So where are you going to be most successful? I hope that helps a little bit.
I have some advice as well.
Please share.
Because
Yes.
so with you feel best being productive when you have more energy. But sometimes with me, and I don't know if it's with anybody else, that's why I just wanted to share because it could be different. But when I have more energy is when I'm less productive because I get very sociable. I like to talk, I like to interact. So then I'll be distracted from the things I need to do. So typically when I'm tired, so say I'm a morning person. So I'm always kind of up, but I know that I'll get more energy as the day goes on. So I'll probably start when I'm tired. So like if the days of studying, I'll start and organize that studying while I'm tired, take a break, and then when I have more energy is when I'll completely like delve into the work, just because if it's not organized, then I can't get into it. But I won't be able to focus and organize if I have so much energy. So typically when I'm tired, I feel like that's if you're just like an energetic person, when you're tired is probably a good time to just like when you're mellow, like just sit down, organize how you're gonna
Uh-oh, I think we lost you. But I think you bring up a great point, right? Like where your energy lies depends upon what you want to do with it, right? And I think you bring up a really good point. Sometimes when we're most energetic, that's when we want to go out and and do stuff and be with our friends and be with our family and go and do something fun, right? So also thinking about how to manage that is an interesting way of doing that. So I love how you've kind of flip-flopped it. So thank you for sharing that with me and with us. Samant, I'm not a morning person either. Is a way I could change my habits. I'm not the girl to ask. No, I'm just kidding, but I'm really not. But I think anytime you will find to change a habit, what you have to do is you have to change it and you have to do something for at least 30 days in order to make it a new habit. And so, you know, I have read studies that say, like, if you want to wake up earlier, you start setting your alarm like 5 minutes earlier, you know, kind of like every couple of days, every week, that type of thing, until all of a sudden you're starting to get up an hour earlier and you didn't even realize that you were doing that, because it's a gradual thing that you're doing. The same thing like with going to bed earlier or things like that. Like you just kind of start doing it on a gradual basis. And if you can do something for up to 30 days, then it becomes a new habit. And you're able to put that into your regular life. So I don't know. Hopefully that was a helpful thing to you. And if something works for you, let me know. I would love to know that. Yeah. All right. Great. So I just want to thank you all again for coming today. I'm going to go ahead and stop.